You're listening to an Anazao Ministries podcast.
Hello, systematic geekologists. Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology Drive-In, the Christmas edition, a special edition. Today, we're going to discuss, perhaps even debate, the modern day Christmas classic, the 2003 Jon Favreau's Elf. So pull up a bowl of spaghetti mixed with candy and syrup, and let's get into it. I'm joined by some of my favorite human beings. Merry Christmas, Happy Advent, TJ and Joe. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. Thanks for asking for the second time today. Big recording day.
It is a big recording day.
Doing well. I am very happy to be here to finally shed some light on a very important topic that need to be talked about.
Okay, I think so. This is going to break the internet. People are going to flip out. We're going to get hate follows on Instagram and send all your emails to TJ at aol.christmas.org. And he'll answer all your questions and controversial topics. Send them to him.
TJ Blackwell99 at hotmail.com. That's me.
Yeah.
But today we are going to talk about Elf.
Yeah.
And
let's do it.
It feels like it's got to be a rare occasion because we have in our presence a real Elf hater.
That's right. Not specifically. I'll speak for Joe a little bit. I don't think he says that he hates elves in general. Like, he probably likes elves, but this particular movie, if we have any elven listeners, he likes you, but this particular movie. And I just to not bury the lead out there, y'all, like, believe it or not, Joe and I may not see eye to eye on this particular movie. So we're ready to get into it.
Yeah. So I kind of want to start, Joe, why don't you like Elf?
Okay. So if somebody, remember TJ Blackwell 99 at you send all your hate mail there.
Yeah, that's it.
So if you challenge somebody to take everything that's wrong with American Christmas, bottle it up, package it up, and then on top of it, hire the single most overrated actor in all of history as the lead.
James Caan is not that bad.
Oh boy, there we go. Out of the gate, man. I love it. Everyone who's listening in their car just had a crash, pulled over into a ditch. I don't know. Something happened out there in the world. There you go. So the follow-up question. So top 3, what's wrong with American Christmas that's in this movie?
The Christmas spirit, whatever that is. That the commercialized Christmas spirit, not like what we all know as Christians to be the quote unquote reason for the season. When I say the Christmas spirit, I mean commercialized Christmas spirit. I understand that baked into the whole thing is like family, and there's like this undercurrent of a family story and all of those things. So I'm not trying to say it's completely devoid of that, but it doesn't. It low key perpetuates consumerism in a way that bottles it up like cotton candy. You know what I mean? People will inject that thing into their veins because it makes them feel good. It makes them laugh, right? But there's no difference between that and Best Buy out there talking about spend more money to show people you love them more. It's the same deal. Right. And so I go back to number 3 on the list. I got to go back to Will Ferrell. I don't understand it. I didn't understand him on Saturday Night Live. I didn't understand him in any of the movies that he's ever been a part of. Like, people need to stop hiring him.
I see. What about his stunning vocal performance at the end of Step Brothers?
TJ, why are you trying to get people not to like me, bro? Okay. Step Brothers. Don't get I'm gonna one up myself on the Elf comment. I don't like Step Brothers. It's stupid. It's like Napoleon Dynamite, but worse. And that's saying something because I really don't like Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh my gosh, there's another. We're just all out revealing.
Yeah.
Today's a good day for you, Joe.
Today is mark your calendars, guys. Today is officially the day where Joe had his heel turn on systematic geekology.
That's right. I love it so much, and that's why we do this. Like we are brothers, sometimes stepbrothers, sometimes cousins, sometimes we're all in the family, and we sit around the table and disagree, but also love each other despite our
wrong opinions?
suspect opinions and suspect sense of humors. We're gonna do that. So and this is just classic, and we're gonna model for our listeners, just how we can laugh and be bros and still like completely disagree, because I'm just on such the other end of the spectrum beyond. I can't wait to talk about it.
That's one of my favorite things about these Versus series is beyond being able to. This is. I think TJ, this is number 3 that we've done in real time. I have no idea what order everybody's going to be hearing everything in, but right. In real time, I think this is the 3rd one that we've recorded, and they've been all over the map, but they've all been a lot of fun because it gives a chance to be able to see how the other person thinks and how the other person processes a subject, even if part of that fun is getting a chance to, in living color, watch somebody be wrong and then double down on being wrong. Mm-hmm. And with that, Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, TJ, I don't know if you want to follow up a question with me.
So, Will, how do you feel about that accusal of the corporatist Christmas that Elf portrays in Joe's eyes?
Yeah, that's good. If I was gonna, nitpick or kind of think through or agree with Joe in terms of this movie or any kind of Christmas movies, or even like his kind of hesitancy or not a big fan of kind of the Disney message of like just believe in yourself, or like where you just general watered down belief is just let's take that virtue and it doesn't matter what you believe in, it's just let's just take that and throw it up in the air and that'll work, kind of things. That I definitely see that. But a little background for me, like I am a huge Saturday Night Live fan, been watching it since I was, a teenager all the way through, and still to this day, still watch it every Saturday night, most Saturday nights, at least up till they do like the fake news thing. And then I hit the hay because I got to work Sunday morning. And I was a big fan of Will Ferrell on Saturday Night Live back when he was on Saturday Night Live. So like in terms of sense of humors, and where I am and what makes me laugh, like I am just a big kid and most of the time immature when it comes to sense of humor, like fart jokes, whatever, I'm going to giggle. I've been getting in trouble most of my life for giggling at things that I probably shouldn't laugh at. And Will Ferrell is like one of my favorite comedians, if you were like top 10 people you like to have lunch with and hang with, Will Ferrell might be up there, just because I liked him on Saturday Night Live. This movie came out in 2003 and I saw it in the theater down in South Florida. At my first church, it had like a 1-year-old. I think we got a sitter and we went to see the movie in the theater. And then what he's done with Funny or Die, and then also Anchorman and Talladega Nights, like I'm there. There's been a lot of misses out there. There's some things out there that are misses, but like his kind of way of doing comedy is kind of right up my alley. So when you combine like a Christmas movie and then like I didn't know I liked, or the legacy that Jon Favreau is going to have post Elf, combine his kind of style of directing and storytelling along with Will Ferrell and kind of a Christmas movie, man, there I am. So yeah, it's one of my favorite Christmas movies because that's where my sense of humor lies.
Right. So Joe, I feel as if Elf buddy Will Ferrell, a lot of his role in the movie is fighting against this, late stage capitalist Christmas idea. How do you feel about that?
Like I said, I understand what the movie's getting at. It's not that part of it's not lost on me. That they're trying to show you what really matters, I guess. And I guess maybe part of my issue is, for me, a little bit of background on me. I've made this joke before, I'll make it again. I am the single worst capitalist that you're going to find. I make a living because of capitalism. I hate capitalism. And part of the issue with this is it ties back to what Will said. It's in a lot of respects, it's a half measure. When you have something like this, yeah, believe in yourself, and yeah, we're gonna fight back against corporate America, and yeah, it's about this, that, or the other thing, but you're trying to put out a fire with a flamethrower. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not expecting something to be Christian that's not Christian. We've had that conversation 87 times on this show, to not have those kinds of expectations on a movie that doesn't play by that playbook. I get that. But when you separate out, like, the I use this term so loosely, humor, that it tries for, and you separate all of that out, you're left with, how do you find the joy? It's by competing with the corporate version of the stuff and things with the sugary sweet version of stuff and things. And when I think about this kind of movie, I'm reminded of A Christmas Story. Now, Will, you and I had that conversation to start off the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, when you boil it down, it's about a little kid's journey to get a thing. So you would think that in a lot of respects, that movie would suffer from a similar fate to this one, when it comes to sorting out the things will make you happy motif. But it's able to capture a slice of life aspect that takes the emphasis off of just adding more Christmas joy to the situation, and makes it more about what a little kid experiences when they want something growing up during a certain time period. All of the things that we talked about. Go see that episode for the breakdown of how we feel about that. And I feel like a movie like Elf tries really hard for that. And I'll even give them the benefit of the doubt to say, maybe to a certain extent, they tried to tell a certain kind of story against capitalism, against corporate America, against those things, but systematically failed.
It might not be Das Kapital, but I think they do a decent job. Anyway, so when is the last time you've seen Elf, Joe?
Oh, I watched it with my niece and nephew a handful of years ago. So it's been a
few years ago. Okay. Did they like it?
Yeah. I mean, they were, and now at the time they were just freshly. Well, he was just freshly a teenager. She wasn't quite. So yeah, right in that spot where they're the target audience. You know.
Yeah. Did you watch it on release, like Will, or had you already been anti-Will Ferrell at that point?
I had seen it along the way. Like I remember when it came out, and at some point I had ended up seeing it. So yeah, that wasn't my first time.
Okay, so I mean, I was 4 when it came out, so I did not see it in theaters. But Will, what do you think Elf says so strongly about the Christmas spirit? Because I know you love the movie.
Question. I do. And as I listen to you talk, DJ, I really do feel like I'm like in chorus. It was like, Joe, where were you the night of December 23rd?
You have an alibi?
Will, where were you? Where do you have any witnesses, Will, of what do you really think about this? I love it. I love this format so much. Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I will confess that probably my sense of humor isn't far off, like in terms of Arrested Development, of like a 13-year-old, surfer from the coast. But I think this movie, I was already a fan of this. I mean, Will Ferrell could read the phone book and I'd probably giggle, and whatever. But like him as a part of this movie, but then this idea of kind of like sense of innocence, like here's abandoned child, lost child, adopted by elves and brought in. He doesn't quite fit in, but he's trying to feel in this kind of awareness, a lack of self-awareness of being a part of this group and indoctrinated about what like Christmas is or doing, and then finds himself in New York, literally a fish out of water, with that still sense of innocence. And so as the movie goes along, people look at him as if he's a weirdo, and because he is. But eventually towards the end of the movie, they look at Christmas through his eyes of what, in terms of like innocence, childlike belief. So that scripture, faith like a child, childlike belief, doesn't mean necessarily. I think that verse could be misinterpreted or overused or twisted in the wrong way. But this kind of sense of innocence and belonging, and what is your family? Asking the fam, what is your family? Is it blood? Is it not? And as people encounter Buddy the elf, they themselves are transformed into kind of having their hearts melted in a way and warmed up to how he believes Christmas is about, or what family is about, or magic, or belief, and that kind of thing. So I think if you look at it through the eyes of a child, look at it through like I'm going to Disney here in a couple of days, and I remember I went as a kid, and then I went as an adult with some friends, and it was still fun. But then when I took my kids when they were little and looking at it through their eyes, it was an extra sense of magic, seeing it through their eyes. And now we're going again, and we're at different age, different stage of who we are, what we're doing. But I think movies can hit you that way too. So look at this movie as you're through the eyes of innocence and belonging, and transforming others with your own kind of how you approach the world. Makes this movie special to me and doesn't get old for me.
Right. Beautiful. Joe, do you think watching it through a child's eyes would help? Because we can get the technology.
So as somebody who I am a prime target for nostalgia bait, right? You slap an 80s or 90s cartoon character on something, and hello, I'm your prime target. There is a certain level of flashiness, bright colors, fast paced, that those kinds of things that, it's like cotton candy. Cotton candy, kids love cotton candy. It has zero substance. It is essentially aerated sugar. Like that. So when you look at something like Elf, I can't fault anybody who made that movie. It was brilliant in the way that they made the movie, because they pretty much guaranteed that they were going to make a ridiculous amount of money off of it, because it plays exactly to kids. For all of you millennials out there, for all of you Gen Xers, I challenge you both. Go back and watch, if you can find on YouTube, or you can find somewhere, an episode of what think back on that great kids cartoon that you grew up watching, right? And then watch a couple of episodes on it, and take a step back and honestly ask yourself the question: how deep is this really? How formulaic is this really? Ask those questions. And there are a couple of diamonds in the rough. There are a couple of episodes of certain series. There's a couple of whole series that tend to resonate with deeper thematic notes and all of those kinds of things. But by and large, when you go back and you watch those things, you can very much see the fingerprints of, oh no, this was designed to just be like a little kid smashing their cars together. This is meant to be flashy lights. This is meant to be fast. Those kinds of things that all entrance a kid. You've got Elf, and that's it. And so for me, it's hard for me to not sound very cynical when I hear that. And honestly, I used to be the type of person that I'm like, never mind Christmas. You know what I mean? Like the whole concept of Christmas was something that I had a very big problem with, and I've logged, and I'm sure hang out with us this season. I'm sure somewhere along the way you'll hear my full and in-depth story about where I've come with Christmas and all of those things. So not here, not now. Stay tuned for that. But this, so for me, it's no longer about I don't like Christmas. I look at this as it's designed for kids. It's designed to play to that sense of humor. It's designed to do what it does, and it does that incredibly successfully. So yeah, I mean, if I watch this through the lens of a childlike approach to it, sure, I can be wrapped up in the magic of it all, and then be left with a toothache afterwards, because all it is the same kind of sugary syrup that you would find elsewhere that makes you feel really good. And then you take a step away from that, and it's what do you got? So you spent 2 hours watching cotton candy.
Or eating
Yeah.
spaghetti with syrup, you know.
Yeah, there you go. You were eating spaghetti with syrup.
M&M's, syrup, chocolate syrup.
Yeah. He did it all himself.
So
Yeah.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you're good.
No, I was like, I see that, and yeah, there's definitely like story beats and things that they know, like we're going to make sure this happens because I think this is going to build a successful movie. But for me also, looking through the eyes of Buddy Elf, he's so likable, and so I mean, if you don't find it annoying, then you're like, oh, he's he's endearing. But then there's people in the story who do you kind of what's their goal, what are they trying to do and accomplish in their world and their daily routines, and Buddy kind of breaks in and breaks up their daily routine and helps them see the world in a different way. So you can who do you identify as? The husband, the wife, the dad, the brother, the half brother, like these kinds of things. You find yourself on this journey along the way. At the end, again, you have that kind of family time together. But yeah, I think there's characters in that you can identify with, even if they are kind of like caricatures of stereotypes of what that is around Christmas, whether it's Scrooge or curmudgeon or someone who's like, oh, well, I'll just go with the flow, or get away from me, buddy, or the manager, that's Santa or not Santa. I know the real Santa. All those things are, it does have that formula of a Christmas movie. But for me, it's just like the enduring nature of Buddy, and then looking at Christmas through his eyes, or what the world would say the spirit of Christmas is. Because yeah, I can nitpick the theology and magic and belief and that kind of stuff too. I had to put that on hold.
Right. So in 2003, when the movie came out, Roger Ebert, well-renowned movie critic, does good work. Also, I think he's a really good writer. Like I didn't read a whole lot of movie critic reviews until fairly recently. That Roger Ebert just knows how to write. Like, like it's really impressive. But he gave Elf 3 out of 4 stars, calling it one of those rare Christmas comedies that has a heart, a brain, a wicked sense of humor, and it charms the socks right off the mantelpiece. Joe, do you think you'd have some choice words for Mr. Ebert if you were able to meet him?
So I think for me in my history with Siskel and Ebert and their tenure of being these heralded pundits of media and movies and all of that, I've long known that as movie critics, oh goodness, I think I think I'll leave it at the best compliment that you could probably give them is, yeah, they know how to write. That's about it. You know what I mean? Like it's not new territory for me to disagree with what those two have to say, because it just kind of, yes, it's charming because it's a kid's movie. Mm. Yes, it's got a little bit more. I'll even give it the slight nod that, okay, it's doesn't quite cater to its lowest common denominator. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way when I say lowest common denominator, because there's a difference between when a child watches something and when an adult watches something. So yeah, there is a little bit more there than just it being that. Not a whole lot. And so, like, I guess from a family standpoint, right? If I'm looking at this and it's 2003 and I've got a family and I've got a couple of little kids at home, or I've got however many kids, whatever, and I read that, then yeah, sure, I would probably be like, oh, cool, I'll take my family to that this weekend and take them and have a grand old time, and everything will be sunshine and rainbows and I won't think twice about it. But when you remove the element of this being like a family outing or like the nostalgia tie of it, there is not a snowball's chance in anything that this movie hangs out in the same category as movies that did it first and better, did it first, second, third, fourth, and fifth and better, all of them. You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of movie that you build a memory around. This is the kind of movie that you sit back as a parent, you watch your little kid just light up and all the flashiness and all of the good nature of it all. Or do you have the memory of being a little kid and watching this movie or what have you? Because will we live in a world where kids were little kids? Like one of our co-hosts was, what did you say, 4 when this movie came out?
I was 4
4.
years old.
BRB, I got to go adjust my AARP.
Yeah.
And I'm not even the elder statesman of this group.
Right. I was 31.
Well, there you go. But yeah, so that's kind of where I don't know. Like I can see parts of where he's coming from, but if you remove any of the experience factor of it, then it just kind of falls to pieces.
Right. And I would just say that Jon Favreau, I like his style, I like his writing. I like what he does. And so this particular movie, it has kid moments, but I think there's adult themes there too, that in terms of like to keep all ages kind of gripped in and attentive to the movie. One scene that stands out for me is like, I just remember when they were in Central Park walking around and Buddy's going on the hunt for Santa and looking, he's on the run. And then like you have this shot of him walking through the park. The news captures this picture of him, of that classic kind of we just saw Bigfoot, that classic picture of Bigfoot walking through the canyon. And so it's like a picture of Bigfoot, except his buddy, the elf. Like, I just remember like spitting out my popcorn and drink when that happened, because I knew exactly what they were going for, that classic picture of Bigfoot, captured picture. And it was like, oh man, that's so funny. So there are moments like that don't get old for me. But as far as like the general message of Christmas, yeah, it's the basic thing. It's nothing too deep. Is very shallow.
Right. So it was harder than I thought it would be to find a negative review of Elf from someone reputable.
That was smooth, TJ. That was real smooth.
Yeah. But Anna Smith of Empire Magazine gave the film a 3 out of 5 stars and said, Pharrell's man-child invites sympathy and sniggers, making this amusing despite some flimsy plotting. Sight gags and a Santa-centered story should keep the kids happy too. Will, do you feel like that's fair, or is she underselling this?
No. That's completely fair. I like the title "Man-Child" because I've been called that a few times in my life. But I think, that's definitely. I mean, the plot's not super deep. We're not talking about The Wire or Breaking Bad or like, those kind of shows of deep plot, kind of thing. It is, as Joe said, cotton candy. And it's good. When you go to the fair, you're going to get some cotton candy. You're going to get the fried Oreos. You're going to get the fair food, and then maybe pay for it the next day with your digestive system. But for a while, I mean, it has its place in the kind of canon of a Christmas. And there's a reason this gets played over and over again, the classic status. You have all kinds of different, and you have other movies, if you want to pull in the depth of whether it's Miracle of 34th Street or other movies that kind of pull a little bit more depth and nuance. This one definitely is a bowl of spaghetti with syrup on. I agree.
Right. So I feel like I have to ask, I'm sure the people want to know, Joe, what is your favorite Christmas movie?
A Christmas Story.
Mm-hmm.
By far and away. The only movie that I would say comes into that same kind of conversation is A Charlie Brown Christmas. Now, there are other ones that I like. I grew up watching The Grinch. I grew up like they're like the Rankin Bass stuff that we talked about last year. Those are all good, but there's this rarefied air that only A Christmas Story and Charlie Brown Christmas hang out in.
All right. Will, what's your favorite Christmas movie?
Yeah, before I answer that, follow-up question to the court. Joe, what's your thoughts on Jim Carrey as a comedian?
Hit and miss. I think it comes through in some of his movies that he was kind of a jerk, and that's probably me being nice. He had a history of being a jerk on set, alienating his cast members, so on and so forth. And I think that kind of comes across in some of his comedy, but I would say, I mean, I think he was funnier when he was doing sketch stuff than as an actor per se. But yeah.
So like him as the Grinch, do you like him as Grinch, or do you like the cartoon better?
I definitely like the cartoon better. I think that I think there are beats of the live action movie that it almost felt like they didn't quite get what made the cartoon Grinch so special.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the reason I asked that, just because of like in terms of sense of humor, Jim Carrey's right up there with Will Ferrell for me in terms of like I love his comedy. I know he's nuanced too and can be problematic in certain things, but I like him. And then the Grinch, we like that one too. But as Joe and I may disagree on some movies, some fandoms, sense of humor, that kind of thing, we are in agreement that Christmas Story is the top of our list when it comes to favorite Christmas movies. So there you go. Like we can model that in our churches and our communities and our families. We can have deep disagreements about some things, and then like, hey, what's our common ground? And Joe and I's common ground around Christmas and Christmas movies is definitely A Christmas Story.
Man, that would be a great place to end. But how do you feel about?
I love it.
What about John C. Reilly? Joe, do you think adding John C. Reilly would help or hinder this Will Ferrell's on-screen partner?
I don't know. Will Ferrell is kind of a big enough black hole that I'm not sure there's really anybody's acting chops that could compete or that could compete with how bad Will Ferrell is. Like, yeah. I equate that conversation to a movie, and this is pre-Deadpool, guys. There was before Deadpool, there was only ever one other Ryan Reynolds movie that I said that I would say was a good movie, and it's a movie called Safe House. It's a drama that he did. It's not a comedy, and he was opposite Denzel Washington, and Denzel Washington forced that dude to actually act for once in his life, to actually act and do something on the screen rather than make bad jokes. And it was this rare gem of a performance from Ryan Reynolds where you could feel like he was out of his depth and it served the performance. Will Ferrell doesn't have that redeeming factor in any of his movies. Like there's no part of this that's like, oh, somebody actually forced Will Ferrell to act for once in his life. No.
So you're saying there's no potato starchy enough to fix all the salt in that water?
I'm not sure there is. I'm not sure there is.
So I'd like to make the recommendation for Joe to go watch the movie Spirited with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell doing a musical. I think he'd love it.
That sounds, in fact, like the seventh layer of hell. I'm pretty sure that's what's there.
There you go.
That's like if somebody said, okay, take every worst piece of a movie and put it together. And I don't even necessarily dislike musicals. I just really dislike Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds.
There you go.
Have you ever seen Elf the musical?
I know it's a thing. I have not seen it.
I know it's a thing. I have not seen it, and that would probably annoy me to high end. If it's not the movie, not Will Ferrell, I'm going to be like, oh, I don't know if this story can be on its own as a musical. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. I would probably not willingly see that.
Oh, well, that's
okay. Real quick. I would like the court to recognize that Will just admitted that this movie does not stand up in its own merits, and he watches it for Will Ferrell. I'm just saying, I just want the court to recognize that is what Will just admitted.
And Will he Ferrell's just admitted and confessed Will's a man-child along with Will Ferrell. Yeah.
But he is in the movie.
Yeah.
He's in the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, But I would like to suggest.
It's worth, I feel like it would be weird to watch any kind of version of Elf where Will Ferrell wasn't Buddy the Elf. Like it would just feel like I'm watching a B movie.
Mm-hmm. You watch like Eddie Murphy's Elf,
like Eddie Murphy as the elf.
Yeah.
Only if it's set in 1993, like back in the day, like in the 80s or in the 90s, where like Eddie Murphy could be Eddie Murphy, then absolutely I would watch that.
Yeah. And like an undercover cop as Buddy the Elf. That would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. Hollywood, that one's free.
Yep, there you go.
That one's not free. I came up with that's not.
He wants credit and he wants the monetary reward. Yeah, exactly.
But so does anyone have any final remarks as far as Elf?
I do. I have a closing recommendation. Okay. So for those of you out there that have this this burden on them that want to go see Elf. So if you have your version of Elf, if it's a physical media, DVD, whatever, take it and just throw it in the trash. Step one. If it's on your computer, just take your computer, throw your computer in the trash, and then go watch a decent movie. Go watch A Christmas Story, and then after that, go watch Charlie Brown Christmas, and then come back for more. Come back to the SG Drive-In for more recommendations.
Yeah,
cheap plug, guys.
Watch the Santa Claus.
Send your emails to buddywalk with Jesus at hotmail.com. Send it to that. It will not bounce back. Just send those emails to Joe Buddywalk Jesus at AOL.com. And I will just say that we at Systematic Ecology, we don't endorse vandalism. So make sure it's your own computer, not somebody else's. Is that what we're gonna do? And my final thoughts is know what you're getting into. Pull up a bowl of cotton candy or spaghetti with syrup and enjoy yourself and just let go. And then you can eat vegetables tomorrow. Just you can fast tomorrow, but for tonight, just have fun and watch Elf.
All right. So I will, as our closing remark, say that it might be worth it for everybody to go watch Elf the Musical. It is a Broadway show. It ran extensively for many years. And Mark Kennedy of ABC News called the production a tight, polished, expensive-looking affair that has enough jokes for adults and enough special effects for kids that had... He said the musical makes the movie look nuanced. So I think we should all check it out. It sounds like the worst thing Joe will have ever watched. But it is available. Man. You can watch it. Check out Elf the Musical. There's also a TV special about Buddy's Musical Christmas, which I haven't seen and didn't know existed until this episode.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that was a glowing review, but I agree with Joe. I'm probably not gonna. There's more things I can do with my time and money than with that.
Well, I'm gonna watch it. I'll let everybody know.
Please do, TJ. Please do.
So I think that just wraps it up for our debate section today.
And I love it. Thank you guys for listening. It's not lost on us that you have lots of things you could probably listen to and spend your time and money with, but you chose this debate, and I hope you laughed and had fun like us. And I hope that you have an awesome into the Advent season, into Christmas and a new year, and we can't wait to hang out later on. And when you leave me a message on my voicemail, just make sure you share with me your favorite color. We're good to go.
Yeah. Also, definitely actually email me at tjblackwell at 99 at hotmail.com. I'd love to read those emails.
Awesome. And with that, remember that we're all the geekdom of priests.
This was an Anazao Ministries podcast. If you enjoyed this show and would like to learn more about our network, be sure to check out the Anazao Ministries Podcast Network.